Rashtarashatashmar Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Shri Gurudev Ki Jai. Nityal Pavishram Vishnupa Rashtarashatashmar Bhaktivedanta Vaman Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Nityal Pavishram Vishnupa Rashtarashatashmar Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nityal Pavishram Vishnupa Rashtarashatashmar Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Nityal Pavishram Vishnupa Ashtarashatashmar Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Goswami Prabhupāda Ki Jai. Nityal Pavishta Maha Bhagavat Śrīla Gokṣara Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Nityal Pavishta Śrīla Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Ṭhākura Ki Jai. Nityal Pavishta Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Śrīla Jagannatha Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Rupa Nugakoriya Guru Varga Ki Jai. Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath. Shri Jiva Gopala Patadasha Gunath Shara Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Shri Haridas Ṭhākura Ki Jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda. Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Kshetra Mandala Gaura Mandala Vraja Mandala Mathura Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Sarva Abhishta Pradakti Giriraj Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Radha Kunda Shamakuni Munakanga Tulsi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Samagata Gaur Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Shri Uddhava-gīta Ki Jai. Shri Viśvanātha Cakravartī Ṭhākura Sārārtha-darśinī Vritti Ki Jai. Shri Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Gosvami Prabhupāda Gauḍīya Bhāṣya Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Sama Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Om Jnanatirmirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shri Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Narayanitti Namine. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Namo mahavadanyaya Krishna prema pradayate Krishnaya Krishna chaitanya namne gauratvishe namaha. Gurave gaurachandraya radhikaya itadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tarbhaktaya Namo Namaha. Yang Prabrajantam Anupetam Apetya Krityam Dvaipayano Virahakatara Ajuhava Putreti Tanmayataya Taravo Bhinedustang Sarvabhuta Hridayang Munimanatosmi Narayanam Namaskritya Narang Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Shrinvatang Svakatha Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hridantasto Yabhadrani Vidhunoti Suhritsatam Nashta Prayeshvabhadreshu Nityang Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtaki tavaivasmi na jivami tvaya vina iti vigyaya radhe tvam nayamang charanantikam bhaktya vihina aparada lakshai kshiptastakama ditaranga madhe Kripa mai tvam sharanam prapanna vrinde namaste charanaravindam. Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hari Bol, everybody. So, actually, right now, I'm not live. I am pre-recording this video at 6:33 a.m., so an hour before I normally go live, because I'm going to be leaving in a taxi to go with my parents. I'm dropping my parents off at the airport in about like 25 minutes from now. So I don't have very much time to read. I'm just going to read a few verses just so that we keep the flow. Yeah, so I'll just begin. Yeah, I actually have to be at my parents' place in 25 minutes. I'm staying somewhere else, so really have a short time to read. Yesterday we read up to verse 35. But let's read some of the translations just so that we see what's happening. Okay. Where's a good place to start? Okay, let's start from here. Yeah, I liked this verse a lot. Okay. I'm going too far back, aren't I? Anyways, I'm going to start from right here. Okay. From this important verse. Yadrichaya matkatado jatashadastu yapuman na nirvino nati sakto bhakti yogosya siddhida. Somehow or other, if one develops faith in hearing and chanting my glories, by good fortune, being neither very disgusted with nor attached to material life, he should try to achieve perfection by following the path of loving devotion to me. But we heard yesterday how Śrīla Viśvanātha Cakravartī Ṭhākura and Madhurya Kadambini was saying that it's not by good fortune. What does that actually mean? That means, right, the word is yadrichaya. So it means actually bhakti by her own will. She's autonomous. So yeah. So by bhakti's own desire, she will by her merciful desire. Anyways, let's just continue. I'm a little bit spacey right now. Okay. Until one develops detachment from fruitive activities, knowing them to be the source of all miseries, and as long as a taste for hearing and chanting my glories has not awakened, one must act according to the regulative principles prescribed by the Vedic literature. My dear Uddhav, one who executes his occupational duties and worships the Lord by the performance of sacrifice, while not desiring to enjoy the fruit of results, and who avoids forbidden activities, will not have to spend time in the heavenly or hellish planets. Those who are fixed in their occupational duties, who have renounced sinful activities, and who have become detached from the desire to enjoy the fruit of their labor, even in this life, those persons attain transcendental knowledge, or if fortunate, they achieve devotional service unto me. The inhabitants of both the hellish and heavenly planets pray to be born in the human form of life on earth, which facilitates the cultivation of transcendental knowledge and devotional service, as opposed to hellish or heavenly existence, which does not provide such a facility. One who is intelligent should not desire promotion to the heavenly planets, nor residence in hell. One should never become complacent, being satisfied with his human existence, because by such absorption in the bodily conception of life, one fails to attain his own self-interest. Although this human body can award one liberation from material existence, one should know that it is still subject to death. Therefore, one should sincerely endeavor for attaining the perfection of life before death arrives. It is seen that a bird sometimes is forced to leave the tree where it had made its nest when the tree is cut down by heartless men who thus resemble Yamaraj, the Lord of Death. Still, being unattached, the bird can find happiness somewhere else. Realizing that one's duration of life is also being cut down by each passing day and night, one should become detached and very afraid of material existence. By endeavoring to realize the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one will achieve perfect peace. And now we come to this very famous verse, Nurdeyam Adyam Sulabham Sudurlabham Plavam Sukalpam Gurukarnadharam Mayanukulena Nabhasvateritam Puman Bhavabdim Natarit Sa Atmaha. The human form of life, although very rarely achieved, is automatically awarded to the conditioned soul by the laws of nature. The human body can be compared to a boat, having the spiritual master as the expert helmsman, and my instructions as the favorable breezes. One who does not utilize his human birth for crossing over the ocean of material existence is certainly a killer of his own soul. When a yogi becomes disgusted and hopeless after many endeavors for material happiness, and thus completely controls his senses and develops a mood of detachment, he should fix the mind in transcendence without deviation. When one is endeavoring to free himself from material existence, the restless mind should always be brought back under control by adhering to one's prescribed path. One should never allow the mind to go outside the quest for spiritual advancement. One should control the mind by engaging the senses and life air in activities of goodness, as directed by one's good intelligence. One who is expert in training wild horses will first allow a horse some freedom. Then, by pulling the reins, he will gradually control the horse. Similarly, one cannot immediately bring the mind under complete control. It must be gradually trained so that it eventually sticks to the path of yoga. Until one's mind is firmly fixed in the absolute truth, he should carefully observe the temporary nature of all material objects, from the Mahatattva down to the gross material body. One should observe the progressive functions of creation and the regressive functions of annihilation. When one finally becomes disgusted with the temporary, illusory nature of this material world and thus achieves a state of detachment, his mind, being guided by the instructions of his spiritual master, gradually gives up his false identification with matter. The mind can be fixed on the Supreme Personality of Godhead by following the path of yoga, beginning with yama, through logic and reasoning under the guidance of his spiritual master, or by worshipping me and meditating upon me. There is no other means than these. If a yogi, due to carelessness, performs some abominable activity, he should nullify the sinful reactions simply by continuing his engagement in yoga. He need not undergo severe penance or adopt some other method to purify himself. For an aspiring transcendentalist, the sincere observance of his practice constitutes piety, and the neglect of his spiritual practices constitutes sin. With this understanding of good and evil, one should detach himself from activities of sense gratification by a sincere practice of his discipline. And these are two very important verses. Jata shraddho mat katasu nirvinna savrakarmasu veda dukatmakan kaman parityage pyanishvara tato bhaje tamam prita shraddhalur dridhanishchaya jushamanashchatan kaman dukko darkangscha garhayan. Having awakened his faith in the narrations of my glories, understanding the futility of all material activities, and knowing that sense gratification ultimately leads to misery, but still being unable to renounce all kinds of sensual diversions, my devotee should remain satisfied and worship me with great faith and conviction. Even though he is sometimes engaged in material enjoyment, My devotee knows that such activity simply leads to a miserable result, and so he sincerely repents such activities. I really like that verse, these two verses. When one constantly engages in my service as described by me, his heart becomes firmly fixed in me, so that all material desires that may have been present in his heart are vanquished without separate endeavor. This is also a famous verse. Vidyate hridaya grantishchindyate sarvanishangshaya. Anyways, the knot in the heart is cut asunder. All misgivings are slashed to pieces, and the chain of action and reaction is stopped when I am understood to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For one who has fixed his mind upon me, being constantly engaged in my devotional service, mere renunciation and the cultivation of knowledge are not considered means for attaining perfection. Whatever can be attained by other processes of elevation that are recommended in the scriptures, all of these can be easily achieved by my devotees. All of these attainments for elevation that are recommended in the scriptures, it can all be easily achieved by my devotees. If my devotee desires liberation from material existence or residence in the heavenly planets, he achieves these without difficulty. Even if I offer liberation from the vicious cycle of repeated birth and death to those pure devotees who are very sober, they do not accept it. The perfection of liberation is achieved when one is completely detached from matter. A devotee who has no personal ambition is eligible for attaining my loving devotional service. My unalloyed devotees who are without material attachment, who treat all living entities equally, and who have attained me, who am beyond the reach of the material intelligence, are not subject to material piety and impiety, which arise from the good and evil of this world. Oh, whoops, I went too far. We're reading from this point on. 35, okay. Nairapeksham param prahur nishreyasam analpakam tasman nirashisho bhaktir nirapekshasya me bhavet. The perfection of liberation is achieved when one is completely detached from matter. A devotee who has no personal ambition is eligible for attaining my loving devotional service. Sārārtha-darśinī commentary by Śrīla Viśvanātha Cakravartī Ṭhākura. The word nairapeksham means not desiring any other process of perfection and its results. The word nirashisha means one who does not seek personal gain. The word nirapeksha also means to remain aloof from anything not related to Krishna. Gauḍīya Bhāṣya. Those who are completely devoid of desires for personal sense enjoyment are the devotees of the Lord, and not those who take no interest in the Lord's devotional service, such as the impersonalists. Only those fortunate souls who have no material desires are able to achieve the platform of unalloyed devotional service to the Supreme Lord. Undoubtedly, in this age of Kali, people are generally very fallen and polluted by material lust, greed, anger, lamentation, and so forth. In this age, most people are sarvakama, are full of material desires. Still, we must understand that simply by taking shelter of Lord Krishna, we will achieve everything in life. The living entity should not engage in any process except the loving service of the Lord. Namai ekanta bhaktanam guna doshod bhava guna sadhunam samachittanam buddhe param upeyusham. My unalloyed devotees who are without material attachment, who treat all living entities equally, and who have attained me, who am beyond the reach of material intelligence, are not subject to material piety and impiety, which arise from the good and evil of this world. Śrīla Viśvanātha Cakravartī Ṭhākura, Sārārtha-darśinī. It was previously said that the mentality of finding faults and good qualities is itself faulty, and to arise above such a mentality is praiseworthy. This principle is being explained in this verse. Unalloyed devotees of the Lord are not subject to the influence of the Unalloyed devotees of the Lord are not subject to the influence of the modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance, which give birth to all good qualities and faults. The pure devotees possess transcendental qualities. Because their intelligence is purified, they only aspire to attain the shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is eternal, full of knowledge, and full of bliss. It will be explained later on that the mind and senses of the devotee. God, I don't know why I'm all of a sudden having a hard time reading. Let me try again. It will be explained later on that the mind and senses of the devotees of the Lord are fully transcendental, and so devotees are not under the jurisdiction of Vedic rules and regulations. Devotees do not acquire piety by their proper conduct, nor do they incur sin by indulging in prohibited activities. While narrating the story of King Chitraketu, Lord Mahadev describes the devotees' equal division in this verse of Srimad Bhagavatam 6:17-28. Narayana parasarve na kutaschana bhibhyati svargapavarga narakesh vapi Ṭhākura. Devotees solely engaged in the devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan, never fear any condition of life. For them, the heavenly planets, liberation, and the hellish planets are all the same, for such devotees are interested only in the service of the Lord. One should not see a devotee's intense desire to attain the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord as mundane or as a fault. Even if some sinful activities are seen in the life of a devotee, one should not see this as a fault. This has been ordered by the Supreme Lord Himself in the Bhagavad-gīta 9:30. Apichetsu daracharo bhajate mam ananya bhak sadhureva samantavya samyag vyavasito hisa. Even if one commits the most abominable action, if he is engaged in devotional service, he is to be considered saintly, because he is properly situated in his determination. Gauḍīya Bhāṣya by Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Gosvāmī Prabhupāda. One should not find faults or discrepancies in the character of an unalloyed devotee of the Supreme Lord. The devotees of the Lord are equal to everyone and are to be considered saintly. Because they are engaged in the service of the Satchidananda Lord, who is beyond the reach of the material intelligence, they are not subject to the piety and impiety that are born from the good and evil of this world. Worldly conceptions create illusion and distinctions in the minds of the living entities and place them in the position of enjoyers. On the other hand, pure devotees who are fully engaged in the Lord's devotional service are not confined to desires for material enjoyment. Okay, now we come to the last verse of this chapter. Evam etan maya dishtan anutishtanti me pata kshemam vindanti matstanam yad brahma paramang vidu. Those who follow the path of devotional service as instructed by me attain freedom from illusion, and upon reaching my personal abode, they perfectly understand the absolute truth. Sārārtha-darśinī. The Lord is herein concluding his discussion of the path of auspiciousness. Those who travel on this path that is instructed by the Lord actually achieve ultimate benefit. The devotees of the Lord reach the abode of the Lord, Vaikuntha, whereas the Jnanis become merged in Brahman. Gauḍīya Bhāṣya. Unrestricted sense gratification, performance of fruitive activities, and engagement in mental speculation cannot be the ultimate religion for the living entities. Because these practices are born from aversion to the Lord's service, they are temporary and incomplete. The devotees who follow the instructions of the Supreme Lord become liberated from the clutches of all inauspiciousness by accepting the path of devotional service. Such devotees obtain the ultimate benefit of transferring themselves to the abode of the Supreme Lord, Vaikuntha. Thus ends the translation of the 14th chapter of the Uddhava-gīta entitled Pure Devotional Service Surpasses Knowledge and Detachment. Shouldn't it be thus ends the translation? Sorry. With commentaries of Śrīla Viśvanātha Cakravartī Ṭhākura and the chapter summary and purports by Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Ṭhākura. Alright, so tomorrow we will begin chapter 15, Explanation of the Vedic Path. Alright, so I am going to... What's going on? Alright, everybody. So if you joined in late, I'm not actually live right now. I'm pre-recording this video. It's almost 7 a.m. I'm leaving at 7 a.m. to Kolkata. So I'm just going to... I'm not going to sing Keshavashtakam. I don't have time today, so you could sing it on your own. And yeah, I'll see you all tomorrow. I'll do a short... Okay. I'll end with Mahamantra, do Jaidvani, and then, yeah, we'll end there. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Jai Shri Guru Gauranga Gandhar Vikagiri Dhari Shri Radha Vinod Bihari Ju Ki Jai, Shri Govinda Gopinath Maran Mohan Ju Ki Jai, Nitya Lila Pravishtam Vishnupad Rashata Shishmar Bhaktivedanta Narayan Gosvāmī Maharaj Śrīla Gurudev Ki Jai, Nitya Lila Pravishtam Vishnupad Śrīla Bhaktivedanta Vaman Gosvāmī Maharaj Ki Jai, Nitya Lila Pravishtam Vishnupad Śrīla Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Śrīla Prabhupāda Ki Jai, Nitya Lila Pravishtam Vishnupad Śrīla Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Gosvāmī Maharaj Ki Jai, Nitya Lila Pravishtam Vishnupad Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Gosvāmī Prabhupāda Ki Jai, Nitya Lila Pravishta Mahabhagavat Śrīla Gorksharas Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai, Nitya Lila Pravishta Śrīla Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Ṭhākura Ki Jai, Nitya Lila Pravishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Śrīla Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai, Shri Rupa Anuga Gauḍīya Guru Varga Ki Jai, Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopala Bhatta Das Raghunath Sharda Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai, Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda Ki Jai, Namacharya Śrīla Haridas Ṭhākura Ki Jai, प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासरी गौर भक्त वृंद की जाय, श्री क्षेत्र मंडल गौर मंडल व्रज मंडल मथुर वृंदावन धाम की जाय, सर्व अभिष्ट प्रदत्त गिरिराज महाराज की जाय, श्री राधा कुंड श्याम कुंड यमुना गंगा तुलसी भक्ति देवी की जाय, श्री हरि नाम संकीर्तन की जाय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जाय, ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जाय, श्री उद्धव-गीता की जाय, श्री विश्वनाथ चक्रवर्ती ठाकुर Sārārtha-darśinī की जाय, श्रील भक्तिसिद्धांत सरस्वती गोसाई प्रभुपाद गौड़ीय भाष्य की जाय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जाय, समागत गौर भक्त वृंद की जाय, श्रीनिताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल, वृंदाय तुलसी देवाय प्रियाय केशवाश्च कृष्ण भक्ति पददेवी सत्यवताय नमो नमः, वंचा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Alright, everybody, thank you so much for joining, and I'll see you all tomorrow. I'll be staying in Kolkata for, I don't know, a week or so. I don't actually know exactly how long I'm going to stay for, but around there. And so I'm going to be dependent on my mobile data. Hopefully that will be fast enough. Alright, Jai Shri Radhe. Hare Krishna.